Hey guys, I'm sorry. It's been such a hard week, and I fell in love with all of my male coworkers, and I was criticized, and I'm just so emotional about it. Oh wait, no I'm not, because I'm a professional and there's no crying in science. Hey guys, welcome back to the Stimulus. I'm Steph, and in case you're wondering what that Academy Award-worthy performance was about, it is in response to Sir Tim Hunt's comments this week. In case you don't know, Sir Tim Hunt, a Nobel laureate, stood up at a scientific conference this week and said that the problem with working with females in a lab environment was that you either fall in love with them, they either fall in love with you, and when you criticize them, they cry. Yes, people still do think that, and it's 2015. However, I always like to find my silver lining, and I got one heck of a silver lining in the internet campaign with the hashtag #DistractinglySexy. Female scientists all over the world posted their incredibly inspiring photos of them being distractingly sexy in the lab environment or in the field. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to get on Twitter and check out the distractingly sexy hashtag. You will see faces like this idiot right here. That's me in college. Yeah, that wound up everywhere. I kind of had hoped that, the first time I wound up on Yahoo's front page, it wouldn't be a photo where I had at least 30 hours of no sleep or showering. But, to be honest, I was flattered and so honored to be included with some of these incredibly inspiring women. So, if you retweeted or contributed, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. If you want to see some of the news articles that covered this campaign, please feel free to check them out. They were everywhere, BBC, Yahoo, but please don't make the mistake that one of my coworkers did by Googling distractingly sexy. Or if you do it, make sure it's one word, or maybe just Google Tim Hunt. That might be a better route. So, anyway, enough about sexism in the workplace. Let's get back to this week in STEM. Since there was an overwhelmingly large amount of space news and updates, this once again will be a nothing but space news episode. So if you're a space hater, first of all, why? Secondly, sorry? Our first update is about the DSCOVR mission, which I covered in this episode of TWISTEM right here. Click the annotation to check that out. This week, NOAA's Deep Space Climate Observatory spacecraft, or DSCOVR, reached its final orbit at L1, approximately 1 million miles away from Earth. Now there's still some instrumentation checkouts to be done, but then DSCOVR will fire up and start its scientific mission. Hooray! Our next story of the week deals with the Planetary Society's Lightsail spacecraft, which I covered in the previous episode of Nothing But Space News that you can check out by clicking this annotation here. Even as I'm filming this, Lightsail is completing its final orbits and is expected to re-enter Earth's atmosphere sometime tomorrow. Despite some bumps in the road, including software glitches and signal losses, Bill Nye has deemed this mission a success and a crucial step forward for small spacecraft propulsion systems. After deploying its solar sails on June 7th, Lightsail sent several images back home of the unfurled sails, including this guy. Pretty cool, huh? The next Lightsail test flight is scheduled for sometime next year, so congratulations to the Planetary Society and Bill Nye on a successful mission. Next up, if you follow my Twitter, you know that a couple months ago NASA conducted a spin test on its Low-Density Supersonic Decelerator, or LDSD. Or, as the media has so creatively dubbed it, NASA's Flying Saucer. Yes, I love that name. Much creative, so wow. On Monday, LDSD took another step forward by completing a flight test, launching on a balloon from the Pacific Missile Range facility on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. NASA plans to use LDSD to land super large, heavy payloads on the surface of Mars for the future manned missions, such as habitats or other necessary supplies. The purpose of the test on Monday was to test two major components of the LDSD system. The first one is the Supersonic Inflatable Aerodynamic Decelerator, or SIAD. SIAD is basically a massive inflatable donut that fits around the outside edge of the vehicle and creates drag upon atmospheric re-entry. In addition, LDSD has a massive parachute that also creates drag and is designed to slow the vehicle down. In the first flight test of LDSD last year, the parachute shredded immediately after deployment. This time around, they were testing a brand new, hopefully more durable design. This parachute, at 100 feet across, was 2 times larger than the parachute used to land Curiosity on Mars. After the balloon launched, it carried the vehicle up to an altitude of about 120,000 feet, where it then dropped the vehicle. After being dropped, the test vehicle fired its rocket engine, accelerating the vehicle to around Mach 4 and raising its altitude to 180,000 feet. The reason this test took place at such a high altitude is with the intention of accurately simulating the Martian atmosphere, which is significantly thinner than our atmosphere here on Earth. During the test, SIAD deployed perfectly, but there was some difficulty with the parachute. It shredded shortly after deployment. While the failure of the parachute is disappointing, LDSD principal investigator Ian Clark did note some improvements from the previous iteration.
We saw the parachute be damaged very early in the inflation process. This year, with the low-resolution data that we have presently, it looks like the parachute remained largely intact, if not entirely intact, up to the point of full inflation. And we also saw more drag being generated out of this parachute this year than we did last year, so those are both pluses.
Before everybody gets up in arms and says, this is a bad design, this is unacceptable, this is why you test. You test on Earth so that you can instill confidence in your technology, so that when the game's on the line and you're landing a multi-billion-dollar spacecraft on Mars, you're confident that your tech is going to work and it's going to make it happen. Failure or not, tons of really good data is going to be gathered off the black box that flew on the test vehicle, and this will help with improving future designs of the parachute. Another test flight of the LDSD system is scheduled for next year, so we'll look forward to that and keep our fingers crossed for the next parachute design. Speaking of the Martian surface, NASA has made a rather shiny discovery on the surface of Mars. The joke was for all my Firefly fans out there, and for the rest of you, I guess you had to be there. The brown coats, remember, Fox. You can't stop the signal. This week, NASA announced that the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has detected what appears to be glass in some impact craters on the surface of Mars. This impact glass was likely formed when something slammed very hard into the surface of Mars, creating very high temperatures. So why is this important? Well, here on Earth, we found glass that's been created under similar circumstances, and it kind of holds a snapshot of the life that was in the area at the time of the impact. Scientists have found organic molecules and plant matter entombed in this impact glass here on Earth. So, if life existed on Mars and was in the general vicinity of these impacts at the time that they happened, there could be some evidence similar to what we see here on Earth entombed in that impact glass. Looking at creatures encased in a glass or an equivalent see-through substance, whatever could go wrong. There have been no movies made about, bad things happening with that. Side note, Jurassic World had better not suck, and if you post spoilers in the comments, we are not friends. Okay, not friends. Now, finding this glass was no easy feat. In order to identify the different minerals and rocks found on the surface of Mars, scientists measured the spectra of light reflecting back off the surface of Mars. But the problem is the glass doesn't have a very strong spectral signal. To the lab, where there's no crime! In order to accurately simulate this, scientists took a mixture of dust similar to what would be found on the surface of Mars and then fired it in an oven in order to create the glass. They then bounced light off the glass and measured the spectral signal. Using this data, they were able to create an algorithm that was tailored to specifically look for similar spectral signals in the data fed back from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's imaging spectrometer. So, will we ever get an up-close and personal look at this glass? Well, the next Mars rover from NASA is supposed to land near one of these craters that has the impact glass around 2020. The next story of the week will make us all look like underachievers in high school. I don't really care that you were elected student body president 4 times and were captain of the football team. This kid's got you beat. I don't know about you, but when I was 15, I was an awkward, hormonal, geek teenager that was just trying to survive her first year of high school. Then there's Tom Wagg, a former intern at Keele University's observatory in the UK. When he was 15, this kid went and discovered a planet. Yeah, how's that math league trophy treating you now? I know my science Olympiad medals are looking a heck of a lot less shiny. You just had to go and show us all up now, didn't ya? Yeah. Wagg used WASP, or the Wide Angle Search for Planets, a network of small telescopes scattered throughout the UK that gather light data on various stars in the galaxy. Using this data, Wagg was able to generate light charts which showed the various levels of light hitting the Earth, and there were some dips in the data. These dips indicate that, for some reason, less light is hitting Earth than that particular star. These dips can be caused by numerous things, such as gas clouds, white dwarfs, or even just glitches in the equipment. So it took 2 years to confirm the discovery, and as it turns out, it was an exoplanet. This planet falls in the hot Jupiter class of planets. This class consists of very large planets that are orbiting very close to their host star, so they get incredibly hot, reaching temperatures of as much as 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The planet our good buddy Tom Wagg discovered is located about 1,000 light years from Earth, is about the size of Jupiter, and it completes an orbit around its host star in 2 days. Now 17, Wagg is one of the youngest people to have ever discovered a planet, which makes my high school resume look like nothing. So that is our question of the day this week. What is the coolest thing that you had done by the time you turned 15? Let us know down in the comment section down below. If you're all about that space or other STEM related stuff, please feel free to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out videos every Saturday to cover the latest and greatest in STEM news. If you want to check out any of the stories I covered today a little bit more in depth, please feel free to check out the links in the description below, along with links to all of my other social media and my website. I don't want to brag, but my Instagram is pretty on point. There will not be a TWISTEM video next week, but I will be shooting a Q&A either Sunday or Monday, depending on how my schedule goes. So if you haven't already, please feel free to submit questions to me on Twitter at StephEvs43 using the hashtag AskStephEvs, and it just might make the show. The questions can be personal, professional, engineering related, space related, whatever, geek related, what have you. As for the next week, it'll be back to business as usual. So as always, if you find any really cool STEM news stories, please feel free to send them to me on Twitter using the hashtag TWISTEM, and they just might make that week's episode. But that's all I have for this week, guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Stay well, stay awesome, and I will see you next Saturday. Spacecraft, which I talked about in this episode of Nothing But on Monday. It's like my 6th grade teacher. The test vehicle then fired its rocket engine, which accelerated the vehicle to about 4 Mach. 4 Mach? Really, Evans? You're an aerospace engineer and you said 4 Mach? Oh, God. I can't say words, and it's just... That joke was for all my Firefly fans. It felt like a pastry. This week, NASA announced that the Mars Reconnaissance orbiter, say it, it's got 3 syllables. Wagyu's wasp, that is such a hard sentence to say. Wagyu's wasp. I can't even do it singing, I'm just kidding. Wagyu's wasp. Wagyu's wasp. Shout! Wagyu's wasp, or the wide-angle search for planets, a network of small satellites, not satellites, they're telescopes. Dang it! Ah! I'm getting my space terminology so screwed up.